Haason Reddick has been traded. What does that mean for the Eagles' edge rusher core? We'll talk to you about that, talk to you about some of the draft. And as always, we'll get to your comments in the chat. Let's go.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia!
Yo, fam, what's up? It's your boys, Eagle Talk. You already know it's the OGP A2D. Your boy Pete. We got Brinks over here. I'm going to go this way because it's reverse. Get my L's up. It's the opposite. We got Chucks down there, over there. No Cromer tonight. We thought he was going to be on, but hey, man, life happens. It is what it is. We're still here to carry on the show. Elite 8 game on right now. We don't even care about that. Caitlin Clark getting her revenge. Hats off to her. Listen, let's get into it. So, Haason Reddick traded, I think, Thursday, Friday of last week, conditional third-round pick. How things change a week later, 7 days. This show last week, we were talking about what we can do. We seen the hit that we put out, the short, when we had Les Bowen on. I asked the question, what's the best and worst case scenario for the Eagles moving forward with Haason Reddick? Look at where we're at now. Haason Reddick is no longer on the Eagles roster. He is now a New York Jet. 2026 third-round pick that's conditional, that can turn into a second if he plays a certain percentage of snaps, what have you. So we're going to get into it, as you already know. Tonight's poll question, I don't like to always lead in with it. I like to warm you up a little bit, give you a little appetizer. Tonight's poll question, the Eagles made the right call trading Haason Reddick. Agree or disagree? Fam, you already could chat. Let us know in the comments. You agree, you disagree. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That also is a way you don't have to waste your little key spaces and types if you don't want to do that, because you know YouTube be stingy sometimes with how much real estate you can have on a comment. So, but it's the truth, man. You get the little counter 0 to 160 or 180, whatever it is, and then if you want to do a little super chat, which we're not allergic to either. I'm not gonna beg for them, but I ain't gonna stop you from doing it. You want to do it? Go ahead, be my guest. So tonight I'm gonna start off with Brinks. And kind of because I think we was on the same wavelength last week, so I'm kind of interested to see what he said. I'm not really think I'm gonna be shocked, but with the whole conversation and Haason Reddick not being on the Eagles anymore, do you agree to this poll or disagree?
I mean, the compensation was nothing. It's like not like I don't understand.
Mhm.
Like, first off, if you're looking for me to be pissed off about Haason Reddick not being here, like I'm not gonna be. We've talked about his flaws every week of this show. You
Right.
have Josh Sweat, now you have Bryce Huff, and you have Nolan Smith. They're all the same player. I was really underwhelmed by the compensation pack. At least get a pick this year. But I don't know. Like guys like Haason Reddick don't, when they hit the open market or the trade market, you just don't get anything for him. You don't get any. L'Jarius Sneed is the king example. Like when's the last time like an established player fetched, a big time draft pick haul? Like it doesn't happen
Before the draft or on draft night?
Anything.
I mean, I would say AJ's what we gave up for AJ, but I mean that happened draft night, which I think you ultimately would have got a better haul for Reddick if you could have withstood out to draft night. But I think this has been brewing in the works, because remember they moved that bonus to 4-1. So they kind of had something they had to feel. But I agree with you, Brinks. At least L'Jarius Sneed got you a third and a fifth, but that was in this month's draft. We have to wait for this return for 2 years, which I didn't even know.
Clearly something went down between Haason Reddick.
Had to go down.
Something that doesn't meet our eye because we're not in that building every day was up with Haason Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
So, Haason Reddick's better than Josh Sweat. He just is.
Mm.
So
He's
for them
older.
to,
he's also older and costs a lot more. So
I mean,
I still think he was undervalued,
restructure.
but it's like, when is the last time? I didn't even know you could. This is damn near an NBA trade. Honestly, like I can't remember the last time I've seen an NFL trade that had a pick that was 2 years away. 2 years away. All right, we're gonna get to. I see you, Mr. Rudy Poo,
Rudy
$5
Poo.
super chat. Thank you. How we making bad moves? We can't tackle, can't cover. Sign an RB, one running back, one trick pony, pass rusher. Rookies are not helping with this team cover or tackle. I'm gonna get back to that, kind of to the same point, but I think it's going to be different from where I think you want to take it. But once again, we appreciate the super chat. Anybody else out there, we're not going to encourage them, but if you want to do it, we're not going to stop you. We appreciate the love. Andrew Baker says, defense got worse. Let's be honest, a bad defense lost its best player. I mean, if you want to say their best speed pass rusher, okay. On the edge, okay. I'll give you that. But I'm not saying he the overall best player on the defense and everything, because that showed you when – I'm going to be honest with you, the people that don't want to hear this. When Jalen Carter, the first 6 games last year, he was the best player on the Eagles defense.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the Eagles. And if everybody plays their potential, he's the best player on the Eagles defense. He's the closest thing that you got to the guy that just retired at the age of 32 years old AD than there is anybody else in the league. And that's God's honest truth. So, Chucks, where are you at on the poll?
I agree to the poll. And it's kind of funny that, like, Brinks was saying, he was kind of trashing Haason Reddick last week, saying he's not that good. And then now he's going to complain about the return. I mean, like, this is a good return. Like, you're not going to have teams. We talked about it last week. You would be really fortunate to get a third at this point. We discussed it. Like, a second was actually really generous in terms of what the market was going to get us for Reddick. Now I know that, and I understand that it's a few years away, but the Eagles are one of the teams that they don't really have much of a difference in the disparity of value between years. Like a 2026, like I know we're complaining about 2026 now, but come 2026, we'll be like, oh, look, we got this extra second, we got this extra third from the Reddick trade. That's awesome. That's all. Like, we won't be complaining when the time comes, and it's not like we don't have a bevy of draft picks this year. So I think the fact that Howie was able to get a conditional second, and the report was that no teams were budging. We were talking about the Falcons being one of the potential suitors. The Falcons apparently weren't budging on not giving up a second. They weren't going to do it. So if there were no teams that were going to give up a second at all, but Reddick is firm in his stance that he wants to get paid, what leverage, what choice do the Eagles have? Howie, to me, did a great job of being able to get what he was able to get, even though it's years away. Like, hey, it's still possibly a second-round pick. I think it's most likely going to be a second-round pick because I think he's going to play. I mean, we can't predict health, but he's been relatively healthy, so he's going to play 67% of the snaps or more. And this year I do believe he's going to be productive in that defense. So because it's not like he's the only one and they can get double teamed constantly. He's going to be able to have his one-on-ones. He's going to be able to take advantage of not being the only guy on that defensive line. So I do think 10 plus X is very, very realistic. So being able to get this return, I think I was happy with it. Now, I think that it was ideal to trade him away in general, like in a vacuum. No, you would prefer to have him on this team, but you have to also understand the business side of it. Reddick has wanted a contract since last year. He didn't come to OTAs, you remember. So them signing Bryce Huff was kind of the first indication that, hey, Reddick is probably on the move. So this has kind of pretty much been in the works for a while now. So you can't say it came out of the blue. I think looking back on everything now, the Bryce Huff signing was a big indicator. It was like, hey, there's a strong chance Reddick is gone. And so this is our contingency plan. And if you ask me, and we'll get into it, but we'll get into our confidence level of Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff. But if you ask me, Bryce Huff, even though it's risky, if he does pay off, the potential for him, he can be an even better player than Haason Reddick. He has that upside. He just has to be able to show it. But I think the potential absolutely is there. So I agree with Paul. I think they made the right decision, and I like the return.
Here's my thing, right? I'm kind of on the fence where I agree to disagree. I'm almost to disagree from the standpoint of, at that point, if that was the only offer that you was getting on the table, then you wasn't forced to take that offer. He could have played out his contract. Something is being said about like the reason why they took a pick 2 years away, why they didn't even want him in the building anymore. And I said this pretty much after his first year. I was like, when he should have said not just OTAs, he shouldn't have came to camp last year. You had more leverage last year coming off the double with almost 20 plus sack season, coming off the Super Bowl loss. That's when you really should have cashed it in. You shouldn't have acted this diva-esque now when you in the last year of your deal. You want to take a chance to do that when your value was higher, right? The market told him what he was. And you don't have any leverage because it's like, all right, everybody know you begging for more money, but you also 30. Not Von Miller can at 30. Von Miller can stop the run better than Reddick can stop the run. People got to realize Haason Reddick was a first-round pick back in late 20 teens, right? He was kind of a fringe player. They didn't know really what to do with him in Arizona. He didn't even see his second contract there. He went to Carolina, got 10 cents. I'm not shitting on Haason Reddick by any means necessary. But to all the people like Rudy Poo just said earlier, I know he shot us out with the $5 super chat, but I want to put up this comment that I bookmarked for myself right here. Teams who are Super Bowl contenders don't trade the best pass rusher, right? Here's the problem. And I want everybody to wake up. Chris Jones was the best defensive lineman on the Kansas City Chiefs, who have won the last 2 Super Bowls. 2, right? Now, you could take the LA Rams out of the equation because they had Aaron Donald, they traded for Von Miller. But when we won the Super Bowl, I think we didn't even have a dude that had 10-plus sacks. Maybe one. Them sacks and shit is cute. Them sacks and shit is cute. That don't guarantee you a Super Bowl. You go tell me right now the team that has won the last 2 Super Bowls outside of having the best quarterback in the game since Tom Brady, where they pass rush come from? You see what I'm saying? Go look at the team that they just played against in the Super Bowl. They went out and got their defensive line was studied. Hell, they went out and spent almost $100 million on a player that we signed from Pittsburgh for nothing. That's the Hargrave contract at that time is probably going to go down in one of the top 5 best free agent signings for the Eagles as far as value and what they got out of it, and they knew when to move on. So when we sitting here saying Haason Reddick is gone, we best pass rusher, this, that, and also you got to say the system is different. Fangio going to want to do more than just rushing, and he going to have a better sound base than what he had with Gannon and what he had dropping in the coverage. I'm not sitting here saying that Haason Reddick is trash, but there's a reason why they did what they did, and there's a reason why they got the conversation that they got. Now, in that part of it, I'm pissed because I want to see a pick either this year or next year. 2026, you know what I'm going to do with that pick, Chucks? I forgot all about the shit. I'm going to forget. And it's going to be like finding it's going to be finding a change in the couch. It's going to be finding that pair of jeans that you can sit there and had for so many years or so many months that you ain't put on. You put your hand in your pocket, you're gonna have a couple of dollars there that you forgot you had. That's what that pick is going to do.
That's going to be a good thing.
It is good.
When it comes, it's
I
like
understand that.
that's awesome.
It's a good thing. But here's the thing, Chuck. It's a good thing in hindsight. I'm not praising that shit now. Excuse my language. I'm not giving you praise for that now.
I disagree.
That's all well and good. That's for you. That shoe don't fit for me. Because guess what? The Jets just got better. And he got better with Robert Saleh. And the defense is, and that's a smart move for the Jets.
They did.
I'm not saying in the vacuum right now. To me, it looks like it's a bad move for Howie, right? But at the same time, what was really going on behind the scenes in which he couldn't be around? To want to pick 2 years down the road for a guy that was your leading sack leader for the past 2 years. And you get a pick from 2 years? I mean, that's an NBA trade. I would employ anyone to tell me a trade that's not ultimately a multi-pick trade. I'm talking about like trading them for number one, first, second, third, multiple picks. One pick that is 2 years down the road. Yeah, any NFL trade that can come to mind.
Yeah, but Pete, the thing is, would you have rather had a lower pick this year that had a less chance of being a stud guy over having a second round pick in 2 years from now that could have a better chance of being a really, really good player? Like, that's the thing. Like, for me, when I'm trying to balance out, like, hey, I want to win now, but I also want to be able to. I'm building for the future, setting myself up for the future. There's a lot of factors that come into play, but I'm going to take the higher pick. I love the higher pick because it's like what you said. You're saying it as a bad thing that, hey, I forgot about this $20 bill in my pocket, but now weeks from now I see that's there. That's like you saying that's a bad thing because you're forgetting about it now. But to me that's a good thing because it's like that's future assets that when it comes down the line, because you don't know how the contracts, how the salary cap is going to be, how this team is going to need to have to reposition itself, rebuild 2 years from the line. So when you have that extra second round pick, that might come in handy. Like who knows? Maybe 2 years from now, we don't have an AJ Brown, right? Maybe he's gone because of his contract. And so now that second round pick can help us retool, can help us get another wide receiver to go with Devontae Smith. So to me, I'm going to prioritize the higher pick more often than not. I'm not saying I don't care if it's 5 years down the road, but 2 years down the road to me, that's not that huge of a deal. It's I give me the higher pick. I think it's better off. You're better off that way. But let's find out what Les has to say. Let's bring him in. Our dear friend, Mr. Les Bowen. How you doing?
Hey guys. Hey, Caitlin Clark has 37, by the way, if you're if you were wondering.
Love it. I love that girl.
Every second of it.
So we're talking about the trade, the Reddick trade. Obviously, I agreed. I don't think anybody was thrilled. I just wanted there to be some resolution that would keep him here. I think I said that last week. Some kind of 2-year deal. What I want to see is what the Jets end up giving him. We haven't seen that yet.
Yes,
because they haven't done it yet. But the idea that they couldn't possibly keep him around for a couple years and have, a really be able to roll out this rotation the way they used to do it several years ago, I would have so vastly preferred that to anything else. I understand everything you just said was right on about, in the long run, a second round pick, if it does end up being a second round pick, is probably the best you are going to do. It can be very valuable. We don't really know it's really hard to know what to make of Haason at this point in his career. Huff's younger, blah, blah, blah. But I would rather have both of them. I would just selfishly, I just think that would have been a great way to go. I'm 68. 2 years from now, I'll be 70. I would like to see them win the Super Bowl now, rather than when I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Right, and that's the thing, Les. So the fact that they didn't even want him in the building.
Well, I don't think it's that.
Not so much didn't want. Maybe I rephrased that wrong. What is it that have you ever seen in your years covering the team them to take this type of trade to where, yes, you could kick the can down the road. We constantly see them do that with contracts when it comes to paying players, but to do that with an asset that you have, and what may make this worse is the fact that what if the Jets don't even extend him? What if they just let him play?
I got to think the agent's got to be smarter than that. I mean, I don't think it would have happened if they weren't going to get an extension. I have to feel that there's the outlines of a deal already for them to make the trade. I just don't see any reason why you would do that, why you would agree to that if that weren't the case. But I don't know. It's possible. Well, to me, someone made this point today in something they wrote. I read too much stuff now that I'm not writing it as much, and I can never remember who said what. But somebody said, brought up the idea of the days of the Joe Banner presidency with the Eagles, when the Eagles did this constantly, not so much trading, but letting popular players move on at a point where the fans thought, oh, gee, let's not do that. It's Trotter, I think I mentioned last week, Hugh Douglas, Troy Vincent. It's they don't want to have a guy too long. They don't want to pay for diminishing returns. They never have. And it's, as a philosophy, it's worked very well for them.
Mm.
There are times when, Brian Dawkins did not work out, obviously. And there are times when you just like to see them, find some middle ground. When Hugh Douglas left, which was a million years ago, you guys were probably toddlers or something, but it was, it could have worked out. It was Joe Banner wanting to win the negotiation and prove that he was right and Hugh was wrong about his value, and I hope they're not on that kick again. I haven't seen a whole lot of that from Howie, but I just don't like the fact that Haason's gone. I don't think the compensation is terrible, but I wish it hadn't gotten to this. I wish they could have gotten something worked out with Haason. Bryce Huff, I like a lot of his metrics, but I don't know that much about Bryce Huff. And I know his 1 year is all he's really shown us. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see. So real quick before we move on, we're brought to you by Baju's Bread, located in Mount Laurel and New Jersey, home of the best stuffed bread, tomato pie sandwiches, cutlet meatballs, and mentioned. Ain't you ready for the 10% off your in-store purchase? While you're so eloquently talking there, Les, we had another super chat come in. Mr. Rudy Poo. We can't control the handles, Les. I mean, they are what they are. Right? He says, I can't get over the Reddick deal, but Howie better get me Edgerrin Cooper or Storm Overcare. Philly fan base needs it. We'll see. I think we're 4 weeks out removed from the draft. It's right now this taste in our mouths because we were here 7 weeks ago and I asked you the question, Les. Best case, worst case scenario. And that's kind of where I'm at with it too. Is just if this was the best deal that was on the table, why we weren't forced to make the deal? And if we were, what led to that? Because he would be better suited for this team in this rotation moving forward. But now that leaves us, now we have to rely on Nolan Smith. And I'm not sure how Brinks feels about Nolan Smith, but I don't think he gives us all warms and fuzzies on the inside, right? So he's got
a lot to prove. He really, I haven't seen a guy have kind of a rookie year and then explode into greatness. I really haven't. At that position anyway. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but as a pass rusher, if a guy can't play his rookie year, the ones I've seen anyway with the Eagles, we've been down this road many, many times, with Marcus Smith or Jerome McDougal or whomever, if the guy wasn't all that. In fact, Derek Barnett was good as a rookie, and Brandon Graham got hurt. We'll see. We'll see about Nolan Smith. I know they're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, and you heard that from Howie. You heard it from Nick. They definitely believe in him. I didn't see it. I think he's really small, and I want to see it. I'm not rooting for him not to be good, but I sure didn't see it last year in any phase at all, in any game. They were talking about how he played great in the playoff game. Is anybody real keyed on that playoff game, the 32-9 loss?
So he played well in the blowout, right? I mean, who's keying in on that? Briggs, did you say he had how many tackles?
8 tackles, 1 sack.
Okay.
That's a big jump to replace Haason Reddick.
This to defend Nolan Smith a little bit. Like, it's not like toward the end of the year when they switched defensive coordinators, the Mr. Matt Patricia knew what he was doing. Like he did. Like, they had Nolan Smith as Mike for one game. Like, they were trying so many different things. I think I'm not defending Nolan Smith's like all of his struggles his rookie year, but I also think that like the coaching staff just didn't know how to use him, didn't know what to do with him, because you have someone who was light, right? So if you have that first year, that rookies don't have the offseason, conditioning, strengthening.
That's really true. And they tried to play him some at stand-up linebacker. They were messing around with him. I never like it when they mess around with guys. When you're a rookie, it's hard enough to learn to do one thing. When they start, why don't you do this over here too? And no, I don't like that. But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we haven't seen that much of him. So no, but Roddy makes this same point here about Reddick not being all that great his first year, but Reddick was playing off-ball linebacker. The Cardinals thought he was a linebacker, not an edge rusher, which was just ridiculous. It was like if you were convinced that Babe Ruth was a better pitcher than hitter, no, he wasn't. That's one. That was one thing I was going to mention with Reddick. He is kind of screwed here in that he's about to turn 30 before the season starts. And he just hasn't, I know what he's trying to do. He hasn't made the money that he should have made.
Yeah.
Part of it was because he got drafted as a linebacker and had 2 nothing years that were wasted in Arizona before they actually had some injuries and allowed him to put his hand on the ground. And then he went to Carolina for a bad year there, not for him, but for the team.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden he's turning 30. The deal he signed with the Eagles wasn't a great deal. They have been getting a bargain these last 2 seasons, but you don't make up for that. That's one of the things about football. Nobody pays you for what you did that you weren't getting adequately compensated for. They pay you for what you're going to do. And that was the genesis of this problem, I think, between Reddick and the Eagles, is he was really looking to, hit the market, hit the jackpot with this deal. And it wasn't a jackpot situation coming off of last year for anybody. Nobody got a jackpot out of the Eagles, at least on defense. So, here we are, I guess.
Yeah. So I have a question for you here, Les. Sure. So now with the subtraction of Reddick, my gut is telling me Josh Sweat wasn't what he was from 2 years ago because of his snap count. And now you chose Sweat over Reddick in a way, extended him out. We'll see if it's his last year of his deal. We know his knee is already won't be 100%. So he's on the snap count. So it's like, where would you rank the defensive line or defensive end unit now from how low on the totem pole? It's definitely not a strength now, I don't think. Maybe neutral, or is it now going to be considered a weakness now going into the season before the draft? Because now if you look at that cupboard, what you have for defensive ends, it's Bryce Huff, questionable. He has to do it more now. He's going to get the opportunity to do so. Nolan Smith, we just talked about him. Briggs said 8 tackles, 1 sack. And now Josh Sweat, who may be on a 400 snap count before he becomes, before he becomes detrimental. Where would you be? Where would you rank the defensive line now, especially at the
and ceremonially, you still got BG. You had to go out there for 8 or 10 snaps a game. I don't know where I'd rank them in the league. I don't think they're terrible or anything, but I don't think they're where they were a few years ago when you just you were rolling out Pro Bowl guys. Does this mean that they'd go edge rusher very early in the draft? I don't know. I haven't looked hard enough at the draft yet, but I've been thinking that first spot at 22 is just a great place this year to get a corner, which is something they have to do. That first or second round, they've got 3 picks in the top, I guess 50 or so. They've got to get 50 or 60. They've got to get a corner somewhere there, and I would rather do it early. Can they also get a pass rusher? I don't know. And that's something that came up also with the trade. This pick 2 years from now, it's also a bargaining chip. Yeah, it could be traded on draft night, or it could give them the security to trade another pick, an earlier pick, if they know they've got that extra second rounder or whatever in 26. So, but I don't know that they're going to get a DE early, but certainly I guess it's a possibility now.
We got a couple of questions from Ryan Swope. ask you this one here. So
Sure.
it says Eagles need to have much better pass defensive coverage, not only focus on pass rush guys. Yes, teams have very good pass rush. They can only depend on their defense.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And then this one is a lengthy one. So this is specifically just you. It's so lengthy I can't see you on screen now. But I'm
figured it out.
Ryan,
No, I don't know if I didn't get to see the whole thing there,
books.
but I don't think it was a matter of the defense being figured out. I think it was figured out in the Super Bowl. And to that extent, yes, but the guys just didn't play as well. More than anything else, it just wasn't. You didn't have the pass rush wasn't as good. Bradbury, all the injuries at slot, corner, and safety. The safeties weren't as good. In fact, you had guys. There were a few weeks there where I'd almost give them, not in the slide at the end of the season, but earlier in the season when the defense was struggling, I kind of took up for them a little bit because they had guys coming off the street and trying to start, and that's but no, I don't think it was a problem with teams figuring out the defense. I just figure the personnel just went way down. They lost like 5 starters and didn't adequately replace them, and then had injuries on top of that they did not have the year before. And I just don't think they were very good.
All right. I think I kind of know the answer to your question, to answer this question from you. But so does Reddick get Danielle Hunter money?
I can't imagine that he does, but we'll see what Joe Douglas thinks. I just don't see Reddick. I'm kind of two minds about Reddick. I mean, 2 years ago, the year that Reddick had was just extraordinary. It was one of the greatest years of any pass rusher since the Eagles have had since Reggie White, if you ask me. I mean, it was unbelievable with the forced fumbles and the sacks. He made huge plays toward the end of almost every game, it seemed like. I don't know when I've seen a guy do that. Even Fletcher Cox, didn't tend to, because he was a tackle, what he did wasn't as visible, I guess, as Reddick was in the clutch. So if that's who Reddick is going to be going forward, then maybe he does get the money. But I just haven't seen him over his career as a guy. When you talk about the very best edge talents in the league, you've got to name 3 or 4 guys at least before you get to Haason Reddick, and maybe more. And I don't know that I see him, in that group of guys going forward.
That's exactly what
we did that. I played that game with the boys after you left last week. I mean, there was like 10, 12 guys that are better than him.
Yeah.
Just
maybe not better than he was in 2022, but as a career, yes.
And that's the biggest Go ahead, Brinks. I'm sorry.
Well, is he that? Is he Reggie White, or is he what he was last year? He's probably closer to what he was last year.
Right.
Just like the quarterback.
Especially since he is a smaller guy and getting injured as he, even though it was a hand injury.
Right.
As he gets older, that's going to be more into play, misses games. He was playing with the bandaged hand. He wasn't very effective that way at all, at his size. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. So before we let you go, Les, and trust me, you're more than welcome to stay as long as you want. This biggest conception about we're hearing Reddick loss and Super Bowl contenders don't do this. But if you look back outside of the LA Rams in the COVID year, if you look at the units, defensive line units, it wasn't star-studded. We just seen it. We just saw it with San Francisco. That was 3 first-round draft picks all on the D line, right?
Yeah.
Did they have a parade in San Francisco a couple days after the Super Bowl?
No, in fact, Kansas City has rebuilt their defense a couple times because of money. They've sent guys away that they thought could play. That you just have to really, I think here, if you're an Eagles fan, you have to put a lot on Vic Fangio, and that this is going to be a more cohesive, that they're just going to play as a unit more. And it won't be as many coverage mix-ups and giant holes in the line when against the run, and that it will make sense better, I guess. And if you have a good defense, if you have an average defense that isn't doesn't go down dramatically in the playoffs, you can win the Super Bowl. I mean, teams don't win the Super Bowl with great defenses in this era. Typically, it can happen, but it's much easier to do it with an average defense and a really great offense, which is what the Eagles are going for. And I support that. I think that's the best way to do it in this era, if they have the great offense, which they should.
Yeah. No, I absolutely 100% agree. Unequivocally 100% agree. They want to score more points now, and they've realized, like, hey, in this area, in this town, in this region, we want to see star-studded defense, right?
Yeah.
That's not ultimately what's going to get you to have a parade down Broad Street again.
Right.
You
it
need
could, but more likely,
right.
it's going to be a great offense.
Yes. I mean,
the only Super Bowl you ever won was 41-33, and you gave up 505 passing yards.
Yes, exactly. But we forget about that. Les, any new blogs coming out on the site? Plug everything where they can find you.
Yeah, it's Les Bowen's John, JAWN.com. And I haven't written anything this week, but I'll get around to it. I'm going to be, you guys are going to miss me next week. I'm going to be down in Texas. We're meeting up with one of my sons who lives in Denver. We're going to watch the eclipse.
Okay.
Ooh, cool.
See, I'll let you know how it looks.
Some good old Texas beef BBQ.
Yes.
I'm going to make myself hungry now. Well, Les, we all wish you to travel safely. Give the best to the Bowen family. Enjoy the eclipse. Any parting questions for Les before we let him go tonight?
Nope.
Nobody's got anything.
Have fun.
Okay.
No.
Enjoy.
Alrighty.
Enjoy.
You guys have a great week. It's always a pleasure to be on with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Les. As always, Les Bowen's John. Come up this week with some blogs. He'll write about something. You already know how he does. All right. Thank you, Les. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. So, once again, Les Bowen, as he does his spot with us every Monday night on Eagles Talk. So, I'm going to let Brinks take the floor, man. This is the targets. This is the second half of the show. What targets targets that we talked about
for the draft
that you like? Go ahead.
I mean, Howie's been very clever. He's very clever with his offseason. Now, because they can basically pick any position in the draft in the first, where they have 22, 50, and 53. So the world is his oyster. There's really not a position they can pick that would piss me off. There's really not. I mean, I think they need a receiver. I think they need a second tight end. Offensive line's never a draft pick. They need an end that can set the edge. Obviously, they need linebacker. Obviously, they need secondary people. So, what can they really do in this draft besides trade up for Drake May that would absolutely infuriate this fan base?
Everyone.
Now, some people are just never happy, and like Mr. Rudy Poo.
Yeah, I don't.
Wide receiver would piss me off.
Terrible.
What do you mean? Like, you had the whole season last year. All I heard was Jalen only throws to three people. He doesn't have enough weapons to succeed, and that's why he had a down year. So, you have the 22nd pick in the draft, and there's a receiver you like Brian Thomas or Donnie Mitchell or whoever.
Yeah,
that's not a bad pick.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to like this tight end out of Texas. Probably not in the first round, but he might get picked in the second round. Because Kellen Moore, he likes that double tight end stuff. He liked it in Dallas, and he liked it last year. He didn't really have the tight ends last year in San Diego to run it properly because they were just LA. Yeah. They just weren't good, but I like the kid out of Missouri, Ennis Rakestraw.
Oh,
He's a corner.
Probably not in round 1, day 2 yet.
that's a day 2 pick, though.
That's a day 2 pick.
Well, I mean, this guy started for the 2 years in the SEC and never allowed a touchdown.
I mean, and you got to be tough with that last name, fam. Like, you got to have some thick skin with that last name.
This dude from
Rakestraw.
UCLA. Yeah. This dude from UCLA, he's got Latu.
Latu.
Is that Latu?
Yeah.
That's 3 names.
Latu.
But I mean, like, he's 6'5", 270. Like, if you can't set an edge at 6'5", 270, then you're not going to be in the league very long.
It's funny you say that, right? Because one of the things that he struggles with is setting the edge. I mean, he has a relentless motor, but at the same time, if you run things his way, he gets confused. Like he's not finished yet. But once again, you're picking at 22.
Well, I mean, who else? What other edge guys are besides? Let's see.
Edge, that's what I'm saying. Edge this year in this class, it's not even the top isn't that good, but then there's a fall off after that.
Yeah, I mean,
I would be pissed if they drafted Brock Bowers at 22. That's
what?
At 20, if they drafted Brock Bowers at 20, if Brock Bowers is on the board at 22, they need to trade the pick.
No, I would love Brock Bowers at 22.
Nope.
I would love Brock Bowers at 22.
That's who Mike Tannenbaum has us picking. That idiot on ESPN First Take.
Woo! I would take Brock Bowers at 22. Talking about talent-wise, talking about someone who's like an early first-round grade, falling to 22, I would take it. Absolutely.
If they do that, here's the thing, and this is why to go back to Rudy Poo when he said the wide receiver. You have to realize in 3 years, AJ Brown's not going to be on this team. So you need to start reloading. And if you do that and you draft Brock Bowers, then at some point, I will say this is going to be the first time I said this publicly. I am Devontae Smith over AJ Brown every day of the week, twice on Sunday when it comes to long term.
So am I.
And that's who needs to get paid at some point, right? So I don't know where they go, but like Bryce said, at 22, this is such an advantageous position because you're going to have, when it comes to position, you're going to have a lot of options. But there's a lot of people. Dave Gates, he says, give me Chop. We done seen Rudy Pooh's 5 comments said Chop is the worst. Bust all over.
I wouldn't say he's the worst. I wouldn't take him at 22. He's not my guy. I'd want at 22. I'd want Latu
from Penn State,
but not but he doesn't suck.
Right.
He doesn't suck. I mean, he also says Rudy Pooh's just Mr. Negative today. He says wide receiver class is deep. Why not one of our second round picks, not 22? The thing is, Rudy Pooh, like when you talk about drafting, we talk, like you can't just pick a position on a certain round and say, let's go defense, let's go edge here in the first round, and then wide receiver here in the second round, and so on in the third round. That's how drafting works. So it depends on how the board falls to you. Yes, wide receiver class is deep. Absolutely. It is deep. So yes, day 2, that's fine. But what I'm saying is in round 1, pick number 22, if wide receiver, the guy there is the best graded prospect you have over anyone else at a position of need, then you take the wide receiver because he's the best player available on your board. That's what you do. So you draft. I mean, and Briggs has said that for weeks now. Ever since we started doing the show, just draft good players. Draft the best player available at any position of need. And so wide receiver is a position of need. If AD Mitchell is on there and he's the best player, the highest graded player available out of any other position, you take AD Mitchell and you go to sleep well at night, knowing that you got a stud. So. And that's my theory with Brock Bowers too. You take Brock Bowers. You look at all of the. If you don't even believe me, I know John Malmus is kind of making fun of me, and that's fine. But if you look at all the other draft experts and how Brock Bowers is graded, he's a top 10 pick. He's a top 10
player in the draft. He's just not playing a top position.
So if he's fallen to 22, you take that because he's that good of a player. That's you can't pass on a player that good.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, so when I say that, Brock Bowers at 22 would piss me off. I'm not sitting here pounding and saying, okay, this is like I'm up that upset. No, because I know he's a top 10 talent overall in the draft. Like anybody, if he's on the board at 22 and you have Kool-Aid McKinstry on the board or Byron Murphy, I may even say Latu at that point. I know for a fact that you're not picking BPA at that point. If Brock Bowers is on the board at 22, I'm hard pressed to find anybody else that they have on their big board, anyone's big board in this draft that's not going to have him as the highest rated player if he's still on the board at 22. So anybody that you take outside of him, if he's on the board at 22, is just BPA at that. Is you're drafting for need. You're not drafting BPA at that point. You know what I mean?
You got to remember too, like there's going to be another round of free agencies post June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you don't address in the draft, you can get a Band-Aid and throw it on there after June 1st. Right. There's still like a lot, like Devontae Smith. You got to think Devontae Smith is getting paid
at some point
in the coming day before the season.
I was literally just thinking to myself, Bryce, like, when's the last time you had you remember this team having this much cap space going into the draft?
No,
like they're sitting almost 40 million now.
Reddick. Like you had the money to make Reddick happy. They just didn't
want
to.
Right, exactly.
Which is another like layer to this Haason Reddick thing that just I'm gonna say it doesn't make sense because they didn't want to pay him.
Right.
They paid Huff, who's unproven. Right. So like whatever on that, but like you had the money and the resource, and you're gonna get even more resources because if James Bradbury is on this team next year, I'm gonna freak out. That guy, like he can't be on the team. And they gave Reed Blankenship some money today.
But the 1 year, 3.95.
Yeah. They extended him. I don't know if they got money, but
Don Brinks doesn't know about Laporta yet. We weren't doing the show together. So I was on Sam Laporta last year like flies on shit over everybody else. I was like early. I was like, no, I want this kid Laporta. Everybody called. I said, this kid is the next George Kittle. And look at the season. Yeah. Brock Bowers is more of a home run pick than that. You know what I mean? Because he's not really coming out to work. But what Brinks said, I forgot about this. What Kellen Moore likes to do with the 2 tight end set, realistically, you could see that happening. Now, if you do, I mean, it's going to go back to what we just said with Les. Like, you want to score 40. The craziest thing is, right, now that we're sitting here talking, all the cap space they have, Justin Simmons still isn't signed. He hasn't signed anywhere. So it's almost to the point like even the free agents themselves are kind of like in this wait and see, right? In this wait and see type of deal. So it's very intriguing. So fam, put some more names in the chat. Let us know. Hit that like. I think we only got 9. We got 79 people watching across all platforms. If you can, whatever platform you're watching us on, give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. Feed the beast. I mean, I don't know what other options. Yeah, I don't know what
going to take. Free agency is going to chill until after the draft.
Oh yeah,
they're going to put all their resources into looking at these guys and trying to like hit home runs in the draft. So like free agency is going to like these Justin Simmonses of the world. There's a couple other guys out there that escape me right now, but those guys they're not getting signed anytime soon.
No time soon, but which is better for us because of the fact that we just if we want to load up, if we want to just keep inching closer and closer and closer. But I mean, with this draft coming 4 weeks away, man, I mean, I've seen it now that they signed Reed. It's like, hey, do they draft Cooper at 22? And now I mean, I don't know the last time. I hate to say this that we've seen 2 white safeties start in the NFL. I don't know. I don't know. I don't give a shit if it works. If they can play, they can play. I don't care. It's just odd. It's literally just odd. Like everybody's trying to find the next Jason Sehorn. That's what it is.
The Gene's a corner. He's not safety.
But I mean, Cooper can play corner though. Cooper's more corner. He's played more corner. But honestly, based off what Brink said, I'm not going to sit here once again. I'm gonna let the board come to me. But I forgot about Rackenstroll. And that's a kid that you can get day 2, either 2nd round, 3rd round, and he is proven. He played in the SEC and he didn't give a touchdown. Now people will hold on to it, and the Eagles do draft, and you're going to hear that story inside and out every way you can, right? But that is somebody who you can get the value and you can just coach them up. It's so, once again, they're in a very envious spot. Very envious spot.
If there's a slot corner that I want, I do like Max Melton as the slot corner. Like if you're looking, because Rackstraw he's projected to be a slot in the NFL. That's where his skill set mainly is, and I like Rackstraw a lot. But the one slot corner I like more is Max Melton from Rutgers. If you looked at his pro day, he tested out the charts, so he's someone. But yeah, either Max Melton or Rackstraw on day 2. To fill in for Maddox, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
So Rudy,
I mean, my instincts tell me they're going to take one of these tackles in the first round and put him at guard, and then kick him out when Lane leaves. If I had to bet, that's what I would bet on.
The kid from Washington, I can see.
What's his name?
Fontenot.
Fontenot.
Yeah, Fontenot. I can see. It's weird. I think you're going to see the run. Like you're gonna see the run. Like I think Bo Nix goes early. He shouldn't go early, but I think Bo Nix goes. JJ McCarthy goes. So you're gonna have these runs, right? To where you at 22, there probably will be a player there that if you stay put, that you can. Now, if I'm sitting there 15, 16, and Kenyon Mitchell is still on the board, I may have to do some things, man.
Kenyon Mitchell. Okay, yeah.
Kenyon Mitchell.
I think
the Toledo guy.
Yeah, I may have to start picking up the phone, man. Yeah, because that's not that far.
A Mac guy at 22.
Some people have him as their CB1. So I mean, I have Terry Nardo as my CB1, but I Kenyon Mitchell is probably my. It's tough between. It's like a even between him and Cooper DeJean. Like I love both of them. I love both.
Yeah. Jackson, I think he's I forget JPJ. Marshall Lynch brings him up. Powers Jackson. It's another offensive lineman, kind of a guard, guard tackle guy. I mean, here's the thing. I've always said this, right? And this is kind of the luxury that the Eagles have. They don't have to, unless it's just a home run and you have no other choice. You don't have to shoot high on day 1 for linemen with this team because if there's one position group that they're going to try to get the most out of you, it's going to be the O-line. I'm not concerned with that, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to contradict what I said about BPA, about who they have on their board. But at the same, like it's one of those things to where the draft can't come fast enough. I can't stand the fact that I got to wait now 4 weeks because this is all we're going to hear. I'm going to be ramped up. We're going to be doing these shows every Monday now, and it's just going to be festering even more and more and more and more and more, right? I don't know, man. Is there any position? Even though what we know, right, so far, kind of can see the top 50. Is there? So Brink said you kind of said it like there's really no one that would shock you or upset you that if they take at 22, if they stay at 22, even quarterback. I mean, they probably won't, but I'm just saying.
Quarterback, running back.
We have Kenny Pickett, dude. We're good.
Quarterback, running back.
He might be better than Jalen Hurts.
Not with 2 gloves.
Yeah. 2 gloves.
Any guy who plays a sport and wears 2 gloves is just
the guy
gives
2 gloves like quarterback.
I think he's paid, and I can't stand Kenny Pickett. I hate that he's on it. They gave him so much draft capital to have him be the backup. Like
it's not something.
Again. That's what I get. Like
we're really gonna get into this again.
We don't have to.
I don't understand how like Haason Reddick and L'Jarius Sneed can get are just like throwaways, and then the Eagles have to give up like basically a whole round of draft compensation to have Kenny Pickett as their backup quarterback.
I would have rather them do that trade. I'm gonna give you a name. Probably get the same result, but just probably more in line. Do that trade for Malik Willis.
No,
you know what I mean.
No.
It's the same thing. It's the same as that thing.
No, Malik Willis.
I think if Willis was able to figure it out, his ceiling's a lot higher than Kenny Pickett. I mean, we all could agree there.
If you want a high ceiling, then do the Justin Fields. Meet the Bears.
He didn't want to come here though.
Ceiling backup QB like that, then just pay the Bears price for Justin Fields.
But I don't think he
You really
wanted to come
you
here.
really want to
He
go
wa- he wanted to
ceiling.
play.
He didn't
He
want to
wanted,
come here.
he wanted to play.
Yeah. No,
He's
I'm
not going to play in Pittsburgh either.
Yeah, he will. He will.
No,
He's going
not.
to get the
Mike
he's
Tomlin
gonna,
is not. Mike Tomlin is
he's going to
not
get the starting job
over
by
Russell
season's
Wilson.
end. He will be the starting quarterback over.
Maybe
There we
by
go.
season's end, but I mean, Mike
I'd
Tomlin
say
is
by
not.
mid-season. By mid-season, he will be. He will be.
He ain't getting the first shot with Mike Tomlin as the coach. I'll tell you
This
that
is,
much.
I
right
think,
now.
this is who
but-
sneaking in. We all wanted. Tyler
Yes,
Hunt.
that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
That's the Ravens backup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted.
Yeah, he's pretty good from Utah. He was good in college.
Yeah. Fam, anyone else out there that you want us to have a quick discussion on before we get up out of here for the night?
The draft is coming soon. This Thursday, I start releasing my running back scouting reports. So they'll be over on A2D. And also, the way I'm doing it this year, A2D, I'm going to have like a simplified kind of like report card, which gives like grades for, the prospects and all the traits. But then if you want a detailed scouting report on these running backs, go over to my Twitter, which is below @ChucksMorandon. Check out my Twitter and you'll get a detailed scouting report on them. So that starts Thursday. I think I'm still going to do it one a day. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe 2 a day, but we'll see. But yeah, starting Thursday, I'll be releasing that.
The last time I felt this way about a Tennessee running back, all I'm gonna say his initials was AK. That's all I'm gonna say.
Do you want me to give her? I can give her a preview of, we can get into a quick discussion. Jalen Wright, right now, if I were to rank him, I mean, he has the same grade as my RB4, but I have him as RB5. He's my 5th ranked running back. There's a whole cluster of running backs in the top one, the top from like 2 to 5, but he's my RB5, Jalen Wright. That speed is something else. That speed is something else. But he does have concerns. I don't know about his receiving ability. I don't know about his pass protection. Those are concerns about him. So he has limitations, areas of concerns that he has to work on. His vision also isn't that great. But man, if you can get him to figure it out, he definitely has high upside. That speed is lethal. So I mean, I think that a guy like Devin Achane from last year, the success he has had in Miami, along with even Raheem Mostert too, but like those type of running backs, because of the success they had in that type of system, that is what makes me more appealed to a prospect like Wright. They kind of like paved the way, like, hey, there is a place for Jalen Wright in this league to be a big impact player. So
can he return kicks?
Well, kickoffs are different now, so we'll see. There's a different type of format.
Whatever, punts, kicks.
So he hasn't done that in college, but I mean that's the skill set to do so is a lot closer to a running back now than it was before. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right, Brinks, I want you to send this on with this question right here. What are your thoughts on Kool-Aid?
I'm not really the guy to ask about the draft, at least not yet. But He plays corner and he played at Georgia. So I mean, like, cool. I do like Teron. Yeah, I do like Teron Arnold.
You like Terry and Arnold? Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's probably
he'll be gone.
He'll be gone, but he's probably the safest pick out of the corners so far. He's very clean. He's very polished. He's very Surtain-esque, but just not to the level Surtain is. Like, I think he has the highest floor versus out of Mitchell, McKinstry, even DeGene. I think Terry and Arnold is the safest pick, to the point to where people just really aren't seeing like the explosiveness with him. So they actually are ranking him like as far as like highest ceiling. They're starting to push him back and be CB3, CB4 because of the fact of they just don't like. He's very, very safe. He's very, very safe.
You don't have to hit a home run at 22. You just can't strike out.
Very well. Very, very, very well said. Don't have to hit a home run at 22. What the draft
is.
Yes. Just don't swing and miss. No Marcus Smiths. No Jalen Rakers. You know what I mean? Sorry,
Danny. I mean, we could do a whole show about the swings and misses.
Oh, We'll probably that definitely could be something that could be in the works after the draft, or we'll see.
God. I'd rather not be miserable the whole show. So,
hey man, I mean, listen, that's why it's you have 7 rounds, and you can have a multitude of picks within those 7 rounds, and you still can swing and miss more often than not. You know what I mean? But
yeah, absolutely.
For the boys, it's your boy OGP A2D. For the kid Brinks over there, for Chuck's down there. It's been another episode of Eagles A2D Talk. Eagles Talk on A2D Radio. Brought to you by Baju's Bread. You can read the rest. Promo code A2D for 10% off. Till next Monday, if you catch us on the replay, click like and subscribe. And fam, we thank you. We out of here. Peace.